Hi, and welcome to today's webinar, Hybrid Cloud ADC for DevOps. My name is Katie Fuqua, and I'll be the host for today's presentation. Our featured speakers today are Pankaj Gupta, Senior Director of Product Marketing for Networking at Citrix, and Miko Decini, Director of Product Management at Citrix. Before we get started, I'd like to cover a couple of housekeeping details. We will have a dedicated question and answer session at the end of today's presentation, and I invite you to submit your questions at any time during the presentation using the Ask a Question window in the webinar interface. Also, this event is going to be recorded, and a link to the on-demand version will be sent to everyone in a follow-up email after we're finished. With that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Pankaj to start the presentation. Welcome, and thank you guys again for joining us.
Thank you, Katie. And welcome to our action-packed webinar today. We'll be talking about Hybrid Cloud ADC. ADC stands for Application Delivery Controller, and we'll be talking in the context of DevOps, but more importantly, we'll be doing a deep dive into a cloud-native application delivery. Today's agenda. First, we start with the key market trends of microservices applications, why many of enterprises are considering deploying microservices-based application and what it means for delivery. And when you evaluate the solutions for microservices-based application delivery, what are the key 5 requirements? And we also go into 4 architectural choices to balance complexity and benefits, because many of you are cloud native experts and some of you are cloud native novice. So you can take a right trade-off between complexity and the benefits to choose the right architecture for you. Enterprises are moving to container-based applications. They are also called microservices-based application for continuous integration and continuous deployment. And that has variety of open source tools. And we'll be talking about some of the key critical tools for visibility and canary deployments for a faster microservices application troubleshooting. And then we'll be covering few highlights of Citrix Cloud Native Application Delivery Solutions. So let's start with the basics. What is the difference between traditional and microservices-based applications? Here we are looking at a very simple representative example of an online retail application. Typical building blocks of any online retail application is a catalog where the user looks at what are the things available at this vendor or website. They log in, they select few merchandise into cart, they make a payment, and that in turn updates the inventory and the shipping. Traditional applications have been built on a 3-tier web, and it's a very monolithic application which combines all the pieces of catalog, inventory, cart, payment subsystems into a single monolithic application. However, it does have API to connect to your partners as well as for your suppliers. And user interacts through the user interface. But the challenges with this application model, which is a traditional 3-tier web application model, it's not built for scale and agility. You will like to update your features and functionality for cart or catalogs or for inventory. You would like to scale them when your traffic grows, which you cannot do that the current monolithic traditional 3-tier web application. What if you modularize these applications into an individual microservices-based application. In this example on the right, you see 4 microservices-based applications like catalog, cart, inventory, and payment. And these 4 microservices-based applications can be independently updated, rolled out a new version, so it gives you much higher visibility. Another big benefit of these microservices-based applications is the scaling. On a Black Friday, when the number of users are buying on the website more merchandise, so you will be able to spend more instances of your cart application, or if there are multiple payments happening and your payment system only takes X number of payment per instance, you can automatically spend more payment instances. So that gives a huge benefit of agility and scale on demand. And of course, the way these micro-based services applications are built, they are portable across the cloud because there's a self-running images which can be ported across the cloud. So these are the 3 key benefits of agility, scale on demand, and portability for microservices-based application. I'm sure many of you already know, but we just wanted to recap so we are on the same page. And many of the companies are using Kubernetes environment for that. And this is happening now, and this is happening fast. As per one of the leading analyst firms, 75% of global organizations will be running containerized application in a production by 2020. That's a huge number. Are you ready to do something like this? When you build these applications, how do you make sure you're delivering these applications to your customer in a very secure and very assured customer experience? And this is so critical to have the right network, right application delivery controller, because these cloud native applications, which are also called microservices-based applications or container-based applications, require a high degree of infrastructure automation because you want agility and CI/CD. You want to make sure they are secure, you monitor, and also have the networking infrastructure implications. So basically, you are looking for a speed, but also looking for a stability. On the right-hand side, just to recap what we learned on the previous slide, cloud native applications is about modular, loosely coupled services, which they communicate with each other through APIs, and also communicate with the external world through API. They are built on a container-based portable infrastructure, and this is accelerated with DevOps, and that's what this webinar is for today. Now we got the basics out. What is container-based applications or microservices-based applications? What are the key trends? And what are the implications on the network? Let's discuss, when you evaluate the solutions, what are the 5 key principles you have to keep it in mind, and they are in a very specific order. When you choose an application delivery solution, platform, or a solution, first you have to see that, are you picking up the right architecture? There are a variety of architectures, simple architectures like 2-tier ingress, and you have a choice of a complex but very feature-rich emerging service mesh architecture. Later in the slide, we are going to look at 4 different architectures and which one and some of the highlights of each architecture and why you choose one. But you have to look at the vendor who can offer all 4 different architectures now. Open source tools are becoming a de facto standard in the marketplace, starting with Kubernetes, and CNCF has been driving very heavily. So to decide which cloud native tools you are choosing to deploy your microservices-based applications, and are they supported by the solution? And there are multiple categories of cloud native tools, from managing the basic Kubernetes environment for orchestration, for visibility, for canary deployment. So you have to make sure that the solution which you are picking works with your cloud native tools, which many times can be open source. And if open source is not your cup of tea, does the vendor offer similar automation and orchestration tools which you feel comfortable? And if you are already using Citrix ADC with ADM as a management tool, then you are in luck, because the same tool can be used to manage your microservices-based applications delivery as well as your traditional Tier 3 applications. So you make the first choice that what is the right architecture for you, what are the tools you are going to use to manage, and third one you look at is performance and scale, because this is very, very critical. Many of the companies who are looking to develop these cloud-based applications are looking for a scalability. So can the solution really support large clusters of these microservices-based applications, thousands of clusters? And the second dimension which you have to look at, how dynamically it can support new containers or microservices. The reason for that is these microservices instances have a limited life. They spin up and spin down based on your traffic or load requirement. So that's where you need a very strong discovery of the new microservices based application instances, so you can balance the traffic with them very quickly as the new instances come in, and you should be also able to take out from inventory when those instances die. Otherwise, you will be sending the traffic to the instance which no more exists, or you will not be able to send the traffic to the new instances which you have, because they are not discovered fast enough. So that's the third piece of performance, and the scale really comes into that. And you just saw that for microservices-based applications, they communicate through APIs. And we live in an application and API economy, and application and APIs are most valuable and most vulnerable assets for any enterprise. So does the solution offers a very strong application and API security? But equally important is, in the environment of DevOps, do you have a consistent security policy and deployment across your microservices-based application as well as the traditional three-tier web application? So please make sure that the security solution which is integrated into your ADCs have a consistent security across tier web, three-tier applications or traditional applications, as well as from the microservices. Fifth piece is the most critical, and my colleague Nico is going to talk about some of the visibility, troubleshooting, open source tools available to you. In Kubernetes environment, containers do not have much of the statistics or much of the telemetry built into them. So you need something which looks into every packet going in and going out and monitors every flow, and that's where the ADCs play a role, because they have a visibility of the every traffic ingress, egress, and among the microservices. So how do you translate that into an actionable insight? And of course, not just these 5, you have to make sure that you have the production grade environment for this, not a science project. If you run into an issue, is there a vendor who can give you a call, or you can speak to that and fix the problems for you? Because you are living in an application and API economy, and the downtime matters. And the only reason you are moving to microservices-based applications to scale and agility, and if there is no one to support you with your choice of ADC solution to support you in tough time, you are going to impact your business. And the last piece is that as a customer, you are very fortunate to have tremendous choices of the Kubernetes platforms and environments in the marketplace. If you're looking more private cloud, things like Pivotal and Red Hat OpenShift are the choices. And if you're looking the managed Kubernetes environment, the top 3 is the AWS, Google, GKE, and Azure. So is your solution runs any of these platforms of your choice? And if you are thinking a multi-vendor or a multi-cloud strategy, does their solution support more than one cloud? So these are 7 big principles you have to consider each one of them. And these principles also translate into the Citrix vision and execution strategy, so we can deliver all these 7 points or 7 requirements for you. Let's look at what a typical Citrix solution portfolio for cloud-native applications looks like. It has 4 building blocks. First is the application delivery controller, which Citrix has been known for more than a decade and has best in class. Second one is the ingress controller, which is new. And of course, the application delivery management. And in a cloud-native application environment, integration with ecosystems becomes very critical, as we talked about. So Citrix for application delivery controller space, we offer best-in-class, extremely feature-rich, reliable, built with the experience of last 10 years, software-centric ADCs. And we offer you choice to run that ADC in a container, virtual, physical, various options for you. And when we go through the architecture, you will see why these choices matter to you. Second critical piece of solution is the ingress controllers. Traditionally, ADCs has not been container aware. So how you make those your ADCs container aware? You make them aware through an ingress controller. This is like a control plane which automatically knows which are the new containers being spin up or spin down and gives you the visibility so you can distribute the load among them. And Citrix offers in a container as an independent container, which you can make it as part of your container cluster, or you have a choice to use an integrated ingress controller built into the Citrix CPX. We talked about management. If you choose to manage with the Citrix Application Delivery Manager for automation, visibility across your cloud-native applications and Tier 3 applications, which are traditional and have a consistent experience to troubleshoot the problems and deploy and get very rich insights which many of the other platforms can offer, application delivery management is the absolute right choice for you. And Miko is going to talk a little bit more about it. And for integration of ecosystem, Citrix believes there are 3 key areas where we bring the integration with ecosystem. First is the cloud native platforms like Red Hat or Pivotal, choice of 3 cloud managed Kubernetes environments, which is GKE, AWS, and Microsoft Azure, and a whole set of CNCF tools for visibility, logging, matrices, and more. Just a recap of Citrix ADC portfolio, which is purpose-built for hybrid multi-cloud, which is very comprehensive. As you see, choices of virtual appliances, availability in the public cloud of your choice, available in containers, bare metal, and also we offer hardware choices. And if you are a very large enterprise or offer a managed service provider or support multi-tenancy, we have solutions for that. But most important part is that they all run from a single software code base. The benefit for you is the operational consistency. So whether you deploy Citrix ADC for traditional layer 3 applications or new microservices-based applications, you have an operational consistency. That makes your life much easier, and it also helps us to deliver the new features and functionalities faster because we are working from a single software code base. Make no mistake, they are not exactly the same. There will be each independent few changes based on individual platform or product, but they all work from a single software code base, so you have a API feature and operational consistency and always access to the newer features much faster. And that's where we make Citrix ADC for your every step for the transition to the hybrid multi-cloud. We talked about performance and scale. We have put a lot of effort and our engineering to shrink the memory footprint of Citrix CPS, which is at par or better than any of the competitive offering in the marketplace. They're designed for high performance, and also the scale which we talked about. It supports thousands of containers and a high rate of extend chain, so you can be assured you achieve with your DevOps model the objectives of delivering agility, scale with confidence. This is a very, very key slide for architectural choices. On horizontal axis, you will see the complexity. On the vertical axis, you will see the benefits. If you are a cloud native application novice, we strongly suggest you start with a simple 2-tier ingress solution, but have a roadmap to move towards more complex but much feature-rich service mesh solutions later. 2-tier ingress brings a lot of great benefits. First and foremost, your existing network teams can continue to manage ingress traffic ADC, which is shown in the green here. No changes for them, and your newly formed DevOps or platforms team continue to build new applications and microservices and manage dynamically the container or microservices-based east-west traffic with blue ADCs here. So it gives you the baby steps to move into the hybrid multi-cloud environment with microservices without changing everything in your current IT and team structure. And we are seeing even a lot of cloud native experts are moving with a two-tier ingress solution. And of course, you can graduate to a more unified ingress solution, reducing the complexity, but that is dependent on how skilled your platform teams are managing your ADCs for a east-west and north-south traffic both. So if you are, our recommendation, if you are just starting or you have done few projects already, consider options or architectures in blue, which is two-tier ingress or unified ingress. If you have experience of building tons of microservices-based application, it is time for you to consider or graduate to a service mesh. The service mesh offers the sidecar options in which with each microservice you attach a sidecar as a ADC. And now instead of individual microservices speaking to each other through APIs, they are speaking through sidecar ADCs. And there are strong benefits to it. First is it gives you a lot of visibility into each and every traffic. It gives you a much higher security because now you can define the policies which microservice can speak to other microservice. Simplest example will be in retail environment. You will like your catalog to speak or have communication to your partners, but you don't want your payment microservice to have access to any any partner organization other than just the credit card processor. So you can put a very fine granular policies into that. And that's a benefit of service mesh. And if you're not ready for service mesh, you want to take a first step towards service mesh. So we also offer something like service mesh lite. Instead of having a sidecar for every container, you have a one centralized centralized ADC which manages all traffic and advanced traffic steering, security, visibility through that, and you can of course graduate to that. The good news is that Citrix offers all the 4 architecture choices for that, and will be happy to work you individually that what is the right architecture for you based on your objectives, team structure, and team's knowledge base in Kubernetes environment. In nutshell, we offer you the architecture flexibility so you can move to the cloud with comfort and with your pace. With that, I would like to invite Miko to walk us through some amazing open source tool integrations.
Thank you, Pankaj. So as Pankaj mentioned, we have a cloud-native solution that ties into open source tooling. The reason for that is when we go to customers, we understand that the developers who consume these products who need to work with ingress solutions and deploy their apps have their own tooling for visibility and for logs and so on. And so what we've done is we've integrated to a variety of open source tools to impress upon our customers that Citrix is actually a very cloud-native solution. The CNCF, which is the Cloud Native Compute Foundation, is the one that's is typically the repository or the place where open source tooling of this nature gets addressed. And so what we have is solutions that, so Netscaler, the Citrix ADCs support key tools such as Prometheus. We can extract metrics from Netscaler and then send it to a Prometheus server. We have our own metrics extractor container that we ship available in GitHub. And therefore you can select, for example, which kinds of metrics you want to visualize. And Grafana being that pairs with Prometheus is the interface of choice for visualizing these metrics. So we ship with these. We support, in addition to that, logging. So on the right side here, We support Fluentd, which is a logging format for CNCF. And from that, we have again a logging container supporting Fluentd that takes logs from Netscaler and ships it through Elasticsearch, for example. And then from there, you can visualize the logs and query the logs using a tool called Kibana. Kibana as well is an open source tool. In the middle here is Spinnaker. What we've done is we have integrated Netscaler to the CI/CD tooling or pipeline, particularly for CD, continuous delivery. And in particular, what we do is we provide data back to the CD tooling so that it can automate the way you can do a canary deploy. And our first integration is with a tool called Spinnaker, which is open sourced by one of the top companies here, Netflix. And Spinnaker has a judge that comes with it called Kayenta. And so we send data to Spinnaker, and Netscaler can do a canary deploy, can split traffic 3 ways. And what we do is we send data back to Spinnaker, and we have integrations to Kubernetes so that we can make this canary deploy and automate the deploy. Whereas in the past, Spinnaker would manually look at, a SRE or a DevOps person would manually look at data from metrics and then work with Spinnaker to increase the deployment. All of that could be automated with Netscaler. Second piece of this is that we believe that some of our customers, the cloud native novice customers, would still want to use a single pane of glass for managing all their microservices. And so we built a service graph as part of Citrix ADM. ADM is the application delivery manager that we provide with Netscaler. The application delivery manager is the control plane. It's a product of products. One of it is a control plane for managing multiple types of Netscalers in multiple different architectures. So it can support any kind of Netscaler, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud, or whether it's in a three-tiered architecture or in a cloud-native architecture. So you can manage these Netscalers. It's used for licensing. You can check the health of these Netscalers. It's also used for managing microservices and to get analytics that are important for you to help troubleshoot microservices. So ADM is that pane. And I mentioned the service graph. What we've done is we can read information from the Kubernetes cluster, look at things like labels. Therefore, we can identify microservices, the names of microservices based on this information from Kubernetes, and populate the graph like we show here of all the microservices that are running with the proper names. And then, as Netscalers are the ones load balancing these microservices, we can then get health information and information about these microservices based on things like what we see from traffic through our proxy. So things like latency, for example, amount of throughput, the number of connections. So we can see whether some microservices are getting saturated or experiencing high latency or experiencing errors, such that this helps now a SRE troubleshoot a problem and get ahead of a problem before it becomes a big problem. And so, for example, if you're running a large website for e-commerce, it's important for you to identify hotspots before it impacts your revenue. So ADM is designed for that, and in particular, the service graph is the first piece that we're delivering with this. And this solution is going to be available actually this quarter. It's available as a solution in Citrix Cloud, and so that's something we're very excited about, since customers of ours have been looking for this sort of solution. And because we hear that troubleshooting microservices is a major problem, and so ADM is designed for that with the service graph. In addition, the service graph is going to extend beyond microservices. It will extend to also three-tiered apps, so we'll be able to help tie these different architectures together in the ADM, and therefore help our customers migrate their apps, run apps that are in both architectures. As this is what we expect the future direction will be, is the combination of cloud native and three-tiered architectures. In addition, of course, this applications can be on-prem or in the cloud. So we will tie on-prem, cloud, three-tiered, and cloud native. In addition to this, security is a major concern in microservices. So what we are looking to do is, as Citrix is used for proxies and defending against attacks, we have a variety of tooling in our product to defend attacks. A lot of it's around looking at on the way we build our TCP stack, the way we look at HTTP and be able to respond to attacks, fine-grained controls, being able to absorb attacks. We are building in the Ingress solution functionality to help, again, take that all richness and goodness of NetScaler for preventing attacks into the API, preventing attacks on APIs by building functions inside CPX, NetScaler CPX, to protect against attacks on API endpoints. So this is are things like rate limiting, for example, quota management, authentication, of course, and being able to block certain IP addresses. So these are functions we have today, and then we're taking that into the cloud-native world and being able to configure these functions using Kubernetes-centric mechanisms such as custom resource definitions or CRDs, which allow you to expose these functions as Kubernetes-specific APIs. Next up is we have customers of ours, of course, are looking for very flexible licensing models. They are building applications in the cloud and therefore want licensing models that are very easy to consume, so they can move capacity from on-prem to the cloud in phases or in batches. And so we have pooled licensing, and pooled licensing allows you to again buy a pool of license from Citrix, and it's available in terms of bandwidth or instances or vCPUs. And these licenses you can apply into a cloud-native environment in the on-prem or in a cloud-native environment in the cloud, or in a regular 3-tiered environment on-prem or in the cloud. This flexibility is very important because it gives the customer much better economics in managing their transition into a hybrid cloud infrastructure. And also, this by providing this pooled licensing, it simplifies the way a customer can think of how they would plan their next generation architecture, right? So instead of buying perpetual licenses, these pooled licenses are in subscription format, and it actually decouples the issue of hardware from software, and making the software licenses very portable. Another thing we've done is we understand that the users now of cloud-native solutions and proxies like Ingress are multiple users. It's not just a load balancing team or the ADC team. So what we've done is we've built tooling to make our products consumable by DevOps teams, developers, site reliability engineers, SREs, platform admins, and DevSecOps teams. What I mean by that is we provide a rich set of functions in NetScaler that by exposing them as APIs through CRDs, custom resource definitions in Kubernetes, we now are able to make these our layer 7 functions like rewrite and responder or canary deployments easily consumable by developers and DevOps by building our open source integrations with Prometheus and Grafana and Fluentd and Kibana, so we can export logs and metrics into formats that are in tooling that SREs use. So that open source tooling allows SREs to consume our products much more readily, as well as DevOps teams. And finally, by providing security on APIs, we are able to help our products to be consumed by DevSecOps teams. So our goal is, we understand that in this new world, there are multiple consumers of a platform, and that we want to make sure that we support these multiple stakeholders. Finally, I'd like to say that Citrix is leading the way. We're a major player certainly in the ADC market. We've got cloud-native design wins across industries, whether it's mobile, energy, cloud provider, consumer apps, and more. We've been in this space now for a while, and we've got some major wins. We are again, we have wins in this space. And we've got customers worldwide and counting. We have 25,000 customers of NetScaler over the past built up over the past 20 years. We are a major player in the space. We are we are C major in terms of hyperscale providers, cloud providers. We are in the 3 of the major hyperscale cloud providers today, with large numbers of NetScaler units. And in the Gartner MQ, we are in the Leaders Quadrant. Again, one of 2 vendors in the Leaders Quadrant in the Gartner MQ. And so we are a major player. And finally, top 10 reasons why customers select Citrix for cloud-native app delivery is number 1, it simplifies the transition from with an easy architecture. So therefore, they can choose a 2-tiered architecture, or a unified architecture, or a service mesh-like architecture. We give them this architecture flexibility so they can transition their architecture from 3-tiered to cloud native. Number 2, we provide a common code base. So this common code base makes it simple for a customer to deploy their apps from on-prem to the cloud and on-prem to 3-tiered, from 3-tiered to cloud native, because we can transfer those policies with a common architecture and code base. You can use the same configs and policies across. Number 3, we provide out-of-the-box integration with Kubernetes and with CNCF tools. Therefore, our platforms are very easy to consume by developers and DevOps. Number 4, we have a similar memory and footprint with open source tooling, but with much higher performance. So by putting NetScalers into the platform, we provide an immediate gain to you. Number 5, we have a rich set of layer 4 to layer 7 capabilities and provide app and API security. And number 6, we make it easy for cloud native novices to consume and manage microservices by providing a service graph for observability and troubleshooting through ATM. Number 7, we automate the Canary deploy so that a DevOps person or a developer can automate the way they can deploy apps and therefore do more work, do more with the functionality of NetScaler using our Canary support and integration with Spinnaker. Number 8, we provide a single pane of glass for both web 3-tiered and cloud native applications. And number 9, we provide a flexible licensing model through pooled licensing, which gives you better economics and agility. And number 10, we help diverse stakeholders with their unique needs, whether they are SREs, DevOps, or developers, or platform admins, or the ADC team. We provide these different stakeholders with a value, whether it's through visibility and analytics, or whether it's tying into open source tooling, or whether it is through Canary, and also whether to provide APIs to our layer 7 functions for Ingress devices so that our products are easier to consume, and therefore allowing the company at the end of the day to move quickly with agility and with safety. Thank you very much. That's the end of this seminar.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Miko. Thank you, Pankaj. And I think we have time for a couple of questions. So as we do move into this Q&A, I would like to remind everyone that if you do have a question, please feel free to submit it into the Ask a Question area on your screen. Simply type that question into the text box and hit submit. So the first question that we have received is, can you please tell us a little more about Citrix CPX?
Great, thanks. That's a good question. So Citrix CPX is a Citrix ADC or NetScaler in a container format. It's used as an Ingress device in a cloud-native environment. So it sits inside a Kubernetes platform, and it has the richness and goodness, the layer 7 functions you find in other NetScalers that are like the hardware NetScalers or the software form factor NetScalers. CPX runs in on-prem and in different clouds like Google, Azure, and it's soon to run in AWS in the EKS service. It's been designed to work with different Kubernetes platforms, and it is also used for east-west traffic, not just for north-south. So it's used for north-south for Ingress, and we're seeing customers using it for the service mesh lite, where it's north-south as Ingress and east-west traffic as well. It provides a rich set of security functions, authentication functions, and certainly all the layer 7 functions I mentioned, as well as a rich set of load balancing capabilities that and performance that are just far superior to what customers find with open source. What we find is that when we talk to customers in the platform teams, is that the CPX is an ideal platform to migrate to from open source. As we provide enterprise-grade, production-grade solution, we provide sizing, for example, and all the features I mentioned, and that it's a good way. It gives the platform team the security and the comfort to know that they can go to one vendor if anything goes wrong, and that upgrades and security patches are handled by one vendor. So that's all offered through Citrix CPX.
Great, thank you so much. The second question that we've got here is, what architecture would you suggest for cloud-native novices?
So for cloud-native novices, we recommend a two-tiered architecture, primarily because they have typically what happens is that they have a existing load balancing tier, and that tier of load balancers are typically hardware load balancers, internet-facing load balancers with security profiles. And so they don't necessarily want to tamper with them too much. They want them to go with at the speed of the business or the speed of the IT ops team, which means not a lot of software upgrades or configuration changes in that tier. We recommend adding a separate tier, a second tier inside the ADC, a software tier, an ingress load balancer software, or containerized inside the cluster using CPX, for example. That's owned by the platform team and given to developers and DevOps. That tier, you can change configurations as much as you want. You can have a different software version from the top tier or the tier 1 hardware ADC. And that second tier is, again, you can have one per team, one per set of apps. I've seen customers with, like, say, a small number of hardware load balancers on top, but they have like 300 ingress devices, software ingress devices across multiple clusters. So,
we believe it is a no-regret architecture choice for our customers. There are three benefits comes out. The number one, it's easy to deploy. So as you are implementing your first few cloud-native applications, you can move with a confidence and a speed without disrupting much of your infrastructure. Second one is you're not really much losing out on the features and functionality because it's still a pretty feature-rich. It gives you a very good security. It gives you a good visibility, but without complexity associated with that. And it also have a path to move into the next deployment model. So if you want to redesign to a better service mesh later, you can absolutely do that. So for our customers, the attractiveness is because of no regret solution. It's very well feature rich, and also it gives them the speed with confidence to move.
Great, thanks, Pankaj.
Great, thank you guys. And the third question we've got here is, what are advantages of Citrix ADC over competitors?
Okay. I think Mikko talked about many of them. There are 5 stands out very clearly. The first and foremost is the feature rich. The ADC's heritage has been a very rich layer 4 to layer 7. If you look at like the Cube proxy, which is only the layer 4 traffic steering offers, you miss out a lot not having the layer 7 traffic steering. Second big differentiation is that many of the applications which of the companies are using are built on the TCP, UDP, or TCP SSP protocol, and you have to refactor those applications, rebuild them for microservices, but you still want to support your TCP, UDP, or TCP SSP. You can certainly do that with the Citrix solution. Third benefit which you really get is the very feature-rich application security. One of the biggest strengths of Citrix ADC solution has been a very feature-rich layer 4 to layer 7 security, whether it's a WAF or DDoS or a bot management, and having a single policy enforcement across the three-tier web applications and microservices-based applications, the consistency. So you get a very feature-rich security for application and API, and you also get a consistency for that. Fourth one is really about scale and the performance. That's where we are ahead of many of our competitors here. And the last one is the CRDs, which Miko talked about. Many of our customers have been using CRDs to implement very advanced features in their deployment. And many of the other solutions in the marketplace cannot deliver that. So these are the 5 key differentiators which we see, which actually tie to each of the benefit to you, dear customer.
Great. Thank you so much. And that does look like all the time that we've got for questions right now. And that is bringing us to the end of our presentation. So I would like to, again, extend a huge thank you to our speakers, Pankaj Gupta and Miko Desini, for a very, very informative presentation. And thank you all so much for joining us. Quick reminder that you guys can check out and register for any upcoming webinars and events going on at citrix.com/events. We hope you have a great day, and thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.